Hey there, happy Thursday, and welcome back, Bears fans, to another episode of the CHGO Bears podcast presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. And what is up, everyone? Back for another episode. Will DeWitt here, day 2 out of the bubble. Feels great yet again to be right alongside you, Nick, to talk more Chicago Bears as we continue countdown to camp. But how you doing? You had a late night, early morning, and I'm glad to be back here with you, but what can you or can't you say?
Well, I had my 3-year anniversary with my girlfriend yesterday, so I could say that.
Yes.
So that was a dinner yesterday.
Woohoo.
Thank you.
I believe that's the 3-year noise.
Yes, that's the 3-year noise. Just a celebratory noise. I was at House Hall today, and I can tell you that training camp is being built. They're still kind of putting the finishing touches there. Looks a lot like last year's setup, and makes sense. I mean, same space. Now the 3rd year at Hallis Hall. Seems so long ago since we've been to Bourbonnais there, Will. But yeah, that's what I can tell you. We had good food on our way back from the studio yesterday. Lots of Kiza put us in some food comas, but that SoCal Tinga burrito and
steak.
Yeah, so I don't know if we'll do that again today.
Sorry, I need to jump in. Where'd you guys go?
La Tequiza in Glenview. It is a Mexican. It's La Tequiza y Mas, actually. Sorry.
La
There's 2 of them.
Tequiza.
And y Mas is better
More.
than the original. Yes.
Because there's more.
There's more.
And more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. See, I caught on a
There
little
you go.
bit.
Yep.
And it was a really good time with you, and now I'm hungry yet again. I appreciate it. I should have had a Owen.
Right? Where'd that Owen come from?
Ooh,
Put that there.
sneaky.
Put that there.
Product placement.
Love it. It's like the 80s. In the back, that's when they started product placement. That takes me back to college. I remember learning that. Hey, you're full of the sound effects
I don't know.
today.
I'm feeling, I just ate some M&Ms. I'm feeling a little sound effect.
5 M&Ms.
And they were peanut ones, so you're feeling a little nutty.
That's a quality dad joke. I appreciate that.
I know you would. No one else does, but you and I, we're on the same wavelength.
Please follow Will at Will DeWitt. The L's are ones.
For more dad jokes, potentially. So today's episode, I'm glad that we're kind of having a soft opening because we've had multiple shows now in a row where we've had to kind of throw in everything in the kitchen sink to squeeze in so many guys because we're doing multiple positions in one episode. But today we have a singular focus as it's all about the Chicago Bears wide receivers. But, Nick, I don't know if it makes things any easier today because what a group we have to discuss.
No, that's a really good point, Will. We have been previewing a lot of positions, sometimes multiple in one show. But the wide receiver group is an interesting one. Like a lot of these Bears positions, because there's maybe one guy that you feel good about and a wait-and-see approach for a lot of these guys that are in this group. But we're going to break it all down.
I think interesting is a kind way to kind of put this.
Yeah, probably.
But we'll see how we feel towards the end of the show. Let's begin, though, officially. And let's start with Tier 1, which I'm going to call the guaranteed guys. Like, these are the players that we know are going to make this roster. No questions asked. There's only 3 of them, but we have to begin with Darnell Mooney. And I say his name, Nick, and my mind immediately goes back to that article last week and just how impressed I still am really about Darnell Mooney, the person behind the player, as well as the aspirations that he has for himself, the work ethic that he demonstrates when there's no one on him, like no one's paying attention. Darnell Mooney is burning the midnight oil, putting in the extra work, whether it's at home, the facility. He has, and it reminds me of a lot of, weirdly, Peyton Manning. I read a Bruce Arians book a few years ago about him and his different quarterbacks he's worked with throughout all the years, and really what I saw from Darnell Mooney in that Dan Pompei piece on The Athletic really reminded me of the same level of focus to his craft that I saw from Peyton Manning in that book, which hey, if that's that championship work ethic right there from Mooney, I think that means good things are ahead. When you're looking at year 3 for Darnell Mooney, like, does he have to do anything to, like, prove to you that he's a, quote, wide receiver 1? Or in your eyes, now that we've gone through this offseason, has your perspective shifted a bit?
No, he doesn't have to do anything because he's the most talented wide receiver on this roster. He's had a 1,000-yard season in an offense last season that was broken. So he is your number 1. And when you kind of go back and even watch what he did last season with multiple different quarterbacks in a scheme that, again, what didn't cater to the offensive player's strengths, he still was able to put up good numbers. He was still able to create some of those explosive plays. So for me, it's now being able to do that, and you are the solidified number 1. There is no Allen Robertson to kind of cater some coverage to his way. It's going to Darnell Mooney. So now, for me, I just need to see how this all plays out as he goes up against opposing number 1 corners. How's he going to beat that press coverage? And that's maybe the one area that, too, I kind of want to still see him improve upon, like getting off the line of scrimmage, because if timing is going to be key in this offense, you need to be in the right place, right time. And if Justin's going to go to one of these players on this offense, probably number 11's the guy. So just being able to get off press coverage, create those throwing windows, that's what I want to see from Darnell Mooney. Keep just getting better at each and every day, and training camp's right around the corner. That's where you can definitely start it.
I like that you mentioned that he's going to be Justin's guy. I mean, they are clicking off the field. They're putting in all that extra work together, so that chemistry should be there. And if that relationship can be as strong on Sundays that we're seeing now this offseason, I expect, that chemistry, that ability for both of them to succeed together, to really be there this season in this new offense. You mentioned him having to be a little bit better in press. I think that was something we read in that Pompey piece, that he was working on, that upper body strength to do that, and that's a little bit of a underrated element of his game because he's stronger than he looks. I see in the chat from J.R. Mayberry, if there's anyone that's going to get a jersey other than Mooney, like, that made me thinking 11 is my favorite and lucky number. Nick, can I get a Darnell Mooney jersey?
You can't. No.
Damn.
You can't. Everybody who gets any jersey you get,
no. You're not allowed. Sorry.
Okay.
We've seen the jerseys behind you back in your bubble.
Should I whip out my Justin Fields jersey anytime soon?
No.
I see it in the closet, and I'm like, if I need to forget it exists. I don't have it in my possession. Yeah,
no, definitely forget it exists. But I also see some very optimistic numbers in the chat here that definitely are obtainable this season. And actually, that looks right.
That's like my Madden season.
Yeah, there you go. You could do that, Will, because you're a lot better at Madden than me, as we figured out the last time we played. So Darnell Mooney's going to be a big part of Justin Fields having success. Don't know about those numbers from Michael there, but he needs to be that guy, Will. For Luke Getsy in this offense, his first year here, Darnell Mooney needs to be able to do that.
So you mentioned he had success last year in a broken offense, and just looking at what he was able to accomplish, and he was one of 25 receivers last year with 1,000 yards or more receiving, and he was also 10th of all receivers with at least 75 catches with an average of 13 yards per catch. That was more than DK Metcalf, more than Devontae Adams, more than Stephon Diggs, more than Tyreek Hill, and more than Brandon Cooks. Just to name a few.
Okay.
That's some pretty good company to be above.
Yeah, and you mentioned like those guys. A lot of those guys are number ones for their respective teams. I remember there was a ESPN analyst who said Dan Orlovsky, and Dan Orlovsky does a fantastic job, but Darnell Mooney's not even a number 2 on a lot of teams. I don't know about that. Darnell Mooney, again, plays for the Bears. I think that has there's just a knock on anybody. And really, you look at a lot of the Bears players in the rankings nationally. Oh, you play for the Bears? Step down.
There's just a connotation right now of being a Chicago Bear, and unfortunately for Mooney.
Sorry. Hold on. Dan Orlovsky is have you seen his takes on the Twitter?
They're not.
He has terrible takes.
There's some.
He talks about like putting ketchup on hot dogs and like stupid things that are like, it's like just clickbait garbage, and like, so we shouldn't listen to anything that guy says. I'm done with Dan Orlovsky. I'm done with him.
Ketchup on hot dog.
See, he's just trying to rile up people with that.
He said a lot of stupid shit out there. No.
Is there anything else on Darnell before we move on? We'll be having more discussions around him throughout this episode, I'm sure. But anything more, like, as we just take a singular focus on Darnell Mooney right now?
No, I think obviously we know most about him, feel best about Darnell Mooney going into the season. Now, as we kind of move down this discussion, this is where the interesting part of this Bears wide receiver room gets
Wait, hold on. I like Chris's comment here. So is Mooney a legit number one or a number two in number one's clothing?
I'm going to say legit number one. Again, it's not that prototypical build that you envision a wide receiver one in terms of like a little bit taller and a bigger build, but he is a player. He can be a possession type. He can beat you with his speed. He can beat you with his route running. He is not a player that I would say is a wide receiver two being forced into a wide receiver one role. I think he is a true wide receiver one talent, and I'm lucky he's here in Chicago.
I mean, he put up wide receiver one numbers, right? And you look at like maybe a guy like Cooper Kupp, physical. If you look at Cooper Kupp physically, just height, weight, everything, like, is that wide receiver one guy? No, probably not. But you see what he does on the football field. He cooks everybody he goes against and gets open and makes catches. He is a wide receiver one. So you don't have to be the prototypical build to do it, but Darnell Mooney, like we said multiple times already, put up those numbers with Andy Dalton, Nick Foles, and obviously Justin Fields throwing the ball in Matt Nagy's offense.
I see from AGM Productions in the chat that another thing that we learned from the Pompey piece, that Mooney has bulked up. Over 180 pounds now. He's been eating those Fruit Loops every night.
Yep, that's what he does.
And actually, weirdly enough, the same night I read that article, it was like a midnight snack time. I had to get a bowl of Fruit Loops.
Okay.
They're in the house. I thought it was just fitting. Had to do it.
Yeah, I had to.
And honestly, if I eat Fruit Loops every night and I bulk up a bit too and get that Darnell Mooney.
I'm going to start eating Fruit Loops if that keeps happening.
Do you think I can just get the body automatically, or do I actually have to work out?
I mean, that's how it works, right? If you just eat Fruit Loops,
Right.
it just automatically happens.
Yeah.
Right?
All right. I'm going to follow my nose, and we'll continue that
Yep.
trend. All right, let's move on to Byron Pringle. Obviously, he's a player that we've talked about a lot throughout this offseason because he's been one of the bigger names that come into Chicago throughout it via free agency. You mentioned, though, Nick, that he was somewhat quiet in OTAs. Is entering camp, I just want to know, like, what or where is your headspace surrounding Pringle? Like, what type of role will he have in his offense? Where's that ceiling? Because with him being quiet in OTAs for a player that has some critics to silence, because a lot of the talk is you're a wide receiver 4 in Kansas City. You're surrounded by all-pro talent as the on the playmakers, as well as a high-end, top-caliber quarterback with Patrick Mahomes kind of aiding you out here. What type of season is in store for Byron Pringle?
I think it's a guy that's going to see a lot of opportunities, to be completely honest, Will. When you look at how the Chiefs utilize them, and again, this is not maybe how the Bears will use him this season. In 2021, he was in the slot 304 times, out wide 262 times. So a guy that you can line up anywhere in your offense and have him, just utilize his route tree that he, gained while he was in Kansas City. So when Darnell Mooney isn't open, like, this should be the second read in Justin Fields' progression, Byron Pringle. And it's a guy that we talked about when we were kind of previewing some of these guys. Like, individual effort is something that is his strength. When you see him make a catch over the middle of the field, it's getting the yards after catch. And that's what you want to see for him in this offense. If Luke Getsy can create those open opportunities for a guy like this, utilize what you did in Kansas City. So it doesn't even matter if you have Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill kind of around you. You're still able to create those types of plays, explosive plays that the Bears desperately need. So when I look for him and what he can do, I think there's just going to be more opportunities. So it's if he can capitalize on those, despite only having maybe Darnell Mooney as the next legitimate weapon.
I'm going to throw a quick comp out, and you give me your reaction.
Okay.
And it just came to me. Byron Pringle's 2022 season will reminisce Taylor Gabriel in 2018.
Explosive plays down the field.
Guy who took the underneath stuff and was able to do some damage. They're similarly built.
Taylor Gabriel, little guy.
He's skinnier, but like smaller, but like height-wise, like, and how I think they'll be deployed similarly.
I think similarly you can utilize them almost in a way where you want to get him on those drag routes over the middle of the field, and then trying to just turn it up. Well, he's got 4.4 speed.
Yeah.
So he's right there in terms of Darnell Mooney and what he can do when he gets the ball in space. But I like that. I like a newcomer coming into a new offense, both That's both the situations they would be in, and then creating those explosive plays. That's ideally what you would love to see out of Byron Pringle.
And I don't have the stats in front of me. This is something that just came to my mind as you were talking about Pringle. But if I remember correctly, when we got Gabriel, he was always kind of like that third, fourth guy in an offense, hovering around similar stats. He came from Atlanta at the time.
Yep.
And the goal was for him to jump into a wide receiver 2 role alongside Allen Robinson, who came that same year. Anthony Miller was also drafted that year to be the 3. Yep. So if you look at, trying to draw a comparison, Darnell Mooney is your new wide receiver 1. Pringle is now that guy who's trying to make that jump up to that wide receiver 2. And then he drafted Velus Jones Jr. to be a bigger, better version of what Anthony Miller potentially is supposed to be in this offense. When I look at Pringle, and I know there's criticism and there's skepticism around what he can do in Chicago, I just look at Ryan Poles. He was in Kansas City with them. Byron Pringle is an undrafted free agent that worked his way up steadily each season to be a wide receiver 3-4 fringe guy for the Chiefs offense that's loaded. So for all that talent to be around him and for him to still find a role in his offense, work his way up, and they brought him in on a very team-friendly deal, a 1-year deal where Poles can say, hey, I like you. Obviously, we have a good rapport. Come to Chicago. Prove to me you can take that step to wide receiver 2, and then I'll give you wide receiver 2 money next offseason. That's what I think the plan is for Byron Pringle. Do you think, and we'll get some true and falses later on, but do you think it's at least in the realm of possibility that that could happen for him? Because I'm cautiously optimistic that he can be a effective wide receiver 2 in this offense.
I think that's the hope, Will, and I know like the negative connotation. It's like this is where wide receivers go to die, right? You
Thanks,
know,
Moose.
that's just that's what's been happening in Chicago, and you just got to hope that Luke Getsy's offense makes things a little bit more simplistic. That when you're developing a game plan, plays make sense. You build off of each other, and you can actually get players open, and that's working with the offensive line too, so that guys like Byron Pringle can use those attributes, those yards after catch ability, and make explosive plays. But that is the hope, definitely will.
So throughout his career, Pringle's caught 70% of his passes. He led the Chiefs last year with 13.5 yards per catch. Again, he had 13.5 yards per catch. Darnell Mooney had 13 yards a catch last year. Those are some high averages for your top 2 players in this offense. And when he was targeted last year, Mahomes' pass rating was 135.5. That was the 3rd best pass rating when targeted of all wide receivers in the NFL, who saw at least 46 targets last season. So he was very productive and effective doing damage against defenses when Mahomes is looking his way. And I just know he'll be in the top 3 for target share this season. You have to throw in all the other positions. It's going to be Mooney, maybe Kmet. Well, we talked about him a little bit yesterday, then Pringle, but Pringle has to be number 2, if not number 3 in this offense.
He does, and what is that? Cornelius here has a really good point. PFF, when the Bears got Nikhil Harris, obviously a very good run-blocking guy, and someone we'll talk about, but right above him, Byron Pringle in terms of run-blocking grades last season, and we know we just previewed the running backs, right? We know that that's going to be a big part of this offense. So obviously the receiving part of a receiver needs to be paramount, needs to be a huge part of their game. But, man, these guys need to be able to block. And right now the Bears, looking at last year's stats, do have 2 of the better ones in terms of run-blocking grades, and Pringle and also Nikhil Harris.
And that's very important for a couple of reasons. One, that blocking ability doesn't go away when you do some of these screens and you're doing some of these, extensions of the running game a bit, getting the ball out into space into some of the receivers' hands on the outside. And also, secondly, in this outside zone scheme, if Herbert, if Montgomery is bouncing it all the way to the outside or they're getting at least over to the C gap, it's very important for the receiver to make sure that their corner is not the guy scraping down and making a play in this run, because that's how you limit, if it's well blocked inside and there's a lane to the outside for this back, but then you let the corner come in and make a play on the ball, you just squandered a great opportunity to get a big chunk play on the ground. So that's another reason why you said, like, that blocking ability, underrated. We talk about what these guys can do on the numbers front, but this is another area of the game that they can positively impact this Bears offense on any given down. Anything else for Pringle before we close the can?
No, let's keep this discussion going.
That's a great joke. Nick just went right over his head.
Yeah, it did, didn't it?
Totally.
I'm sorry. Yep. I didn't even hear
Can
what
of
you said,
Pringles.
honestly.
I said before we close the can.
Oh, and the
Pringle.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
You and your dad jokes.
I know.
They're everywhere.
That's one of my favorite Mitch Hedberg jokes. I don't know if you know that comedian from back in the day, but He talked about how Pringles was just a laid-back company. They were actually trying to make tennis balls, but when the shipment came in, it was actually potatoes. So they said, fuck it, we're making potato chips.
Instead of Pinnacle, you got Pringle.
Yeah.
What?
There you go.
That is such a wow.
No, Mitch
Look at
Hedberg,
that.
man. Late 90s, early 2000s comedy.
Man, you learn a
R.I.P.
bunch of stuff on the CHGO Bears podcast.
You do. Well, when Lawrence is producing, I always feel like I definitely learn something new each and every time that he unmutes his mic back there.
Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't know what you're learning from this comment.
I was going to say, I was waiting for it, but nothing came out.
No.
All right. Last person in this first tier, Velus Jones Jr. Man, here's a player that I'm so excited he's here. I identified him in the pre-draft process as a receiver in this offense. I can see just taking flight with his yards after the catch ability. Had the most yards after the catch per reception in the entire draft class, averaging over 8.32 yards after the catch. The Bears didn't aggressively attack this position this offseason in terms of spending top dollar. Bargain bin for Pringle, third round here for Velus. But still, I think that's going to enable him at least to come in and make an impact from day one. Personally, I love watching him with that toughness and that physicality that he plays with the football in his hands. He has a great blend of that aggression as well as athleticism as well as vision, which is apparent both as him as a runner on offense but also as returner on the third phase. He's also speedy. He's agile. Like, the list for me can go on, and of course, he's old.
Yeah, for a draft pick, but I think he was only a couple of months older than Devin Hester when
I saw that
he was
today.
drafted. Yeah, but yeah, Velus, the opportunities for him are limitless. It's all going to come down to Luke Getsy, but this is where you don't want to see him get overly creative, right? Where it's like you're giving him so many different roles in year one. That's how you're prone to making mistakes. Like, let him learn the playbook. Let him find his niche, his niche, however you want to say it.
You said a niche yesterday, so I was rolling with it.
Okay, niche in this offense.
Nicholas Moriano.
I did that yesterday.
Yes, there we go. All right, we're sticking
Yeah,
with
Jones.
niche, but that's what I think for Velus early on in the season you want to see, because that's how I think he can play at his best, his fastest, because we know he's got the speed and the burners to make explosive plays happen. And you could line him up in the backfield. You can put him in motion, these jet sweeps. You can put him out wide in the slot. So it is endless to what you can do with him. But for me, if I'm Luke Getsy, we'll slow it down in the beginning. Let's see what he can handle in training camp this next week. And then as the season progresses, then you see Velus Jones Jr. kind of lining up regardless of regardless of the play, the down and distance. And then you can really attack defenses in a multitude of different ways.
Yeah, he's a player that defenses will also have to pay attention to just due to all the athleticism, speed that he brings to the table. You mentioned taking it slow. I'll be really interested in camp to see what that looks like, because if I remember correctly during OTAs, they were mentioning whether it be Getsy or Tolbert, that they're just throwing so much at him, like learning multiple positions in this offense. And he's been able to pick it up quite well. When I look at him, I know they had to meet the rookies on him. Did you see that?
I did not. Nope, I haven't got a chance.
One thing I just want to say about it is because a lot of people say, why did it take him forever, like in college, to figure it out? Because at USC, he was never dominant. And then he goes to Tennessee, and his career starts to take flight a little bit. He mentioned that he just never felt right at USC and Southern Cal. He was going through depression, battling that. But he's also someone that, I'm not just going to be a guy that quits. This isn't for me. I'm transferring. He wanted to stick it out, get his degree, and then he had that next opportunity to continue that collegiate career, found himself a little bit in Tennessee. And for someone that also battles some depression, it humanizes it a bit. And it can make you understand, they are more than just players. They are human beings, and if you are battling, a mental issue such as depression, that will have an impact on the type of player that you can be on the field. Outside of that, I don't know. I'm so excited to see how the Bears will utilize his skill set. I saw AGM mention he can be a Deebo Samuel Jr.
Yeah,
and I know didn't polls slightly throw that comparison out in the post-draft process. He's I'm not saying he's Deebo, but we can see Deebo things.
Yeah, that was mentioned before in Poles' press conference, and there are similarities, no doubt. But what makes Deebo so great is that he got so good at each one of the positions that he was lined up in, and he became such just a phenomenal contested catch creator for that 49ers offense. But you hope that Velus Jones Jr. can take the attributes that he does have, those qualities, and make himself a career that is maybe similar in the in that Debo discussion. But yes, the name has been brought up, and that would be great for the Bears if they got somebody like that.
Yeah, reminiscent of Debo. Outside of that, is there anything that you can personally teach him?
Me?
Yeah, I have one.
Sure. What is it, Will?
I'm sure you can give him some tips on drawing.
Oh, God, yeah. If you saw the well, he tried to draw the bear.
That's hard.
That's tough to do.
That's difficult.
You definitely need to see a picture and draw it. I guess he if he went with the C, I think Velus would have had it.
Didn't he say like they should put the bear in a helmet? Because I've always said that. Like that'd be a great alternate helmet.
I mean, we see it right here on the show. Like the C's.
C's fine.
C's fine.
I can handle the C most times.
Lawrence, you want to?
Well,
Yeah.
I was just going to say that now that the league has gotten rid of their stupid rule where you can only wear one helmet, now, like they're bringing back Bucko Bruce for like the Buccaneers are doing that and whoever else. I do think the Bears could maybe go with an alternate helmet one week. Maybe it's the same blue, but the bear is perhaps the like shiny orange. Like that like metallic look.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That bear is fierce, and I feel like he's underutilized.
I do like him a lot.
I do.
By the way, I'm also, every time I'm now opening my mic, I'm feeling like I have to teach something, and I'm feeling very nervous about
Class
that.
is in session when Lawrence unmutes.
No thanks.
But no, like you are a decent drawer, and that's something that I thought you would like poke at a bit. And your brother too, like was showing me some of his sketches. He has like this smart pad thing, and
Yeah, I know.
Whoa.
That thing's pretty cool. I like my Samsung tablet because I can go on all my apps and stuff. He can't do that in his, but he has been drawing a lot on it, so shout out to him and his drawing ability.
I drew a skinny pig on it last night. He's like, just draw something, and then
Skinny pig?
it was like a big head, and I was like, I'm just gonna put like a little stick figure underneath it, and it
Okay.
just says oink. It was getting late. I wanted to go back to watch Ted Lasso, but I also wanted to at least.
I got him hooked on
mean,
Ted Lasso.
I was up to 2 in the morning
Should've done
binging that show.
Should have done that a couple months, years ago, or
I
whatever.
think so. Like I know
Baby?
I'm late on it.
Yeah, the baby goes to sleep at some point.
Yeah, but he hears the TV. He's up. It's quiet time once the baby goes down.
Huh. Well, I feel like that's a problem. You need to
It
work
is.
on your audio situation.
Levels,
at your
yeah.
house.
Well, he sleeps too close to where it is. You're right. That's a me thing. All right. Anything else on Velus, or is Tier 1 complete?
Tier 1 is officially complete.
All right. Before we get to Tier 2 and talk about, well, the rest of these guys and where things get really interesting for this unit, I just want to make sure that you know that the best way that you can support CHGO is to download the PointsBet app and use that code CHGO when you sign up. If you do that, not tomorrow, right now, you'll get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. It's also available tomorrow, but do it right now. But that's not it. You can make a $50 or more first-time deposit. You'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content. You'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO Locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free T-shirt from the CHGO Locker, all for making more than a $50 first-time deposit at PointsBet. If you have any questions, you can email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we will be more than happy to help you out. Your home for live in-play betting just got even better. Seeing an edge in the game you're watching? Is your favorite team primed for a comeback? Don't just watch the game, bet along with it live. More live betting, more live markets, and faster live cash outs. Follow along with your bets the moment they hit and stay in the live action all game long. Download the PointsBet app right now and use that promo code CHGO. So what are you waiting for? It's time to elevate your live betting game. Once the game starts, don't just bet, live your bet life with PointsBet. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER for crisis counseling and referral services.
And tweet. All right. I have to tell you about our next partner, Athletic Greens. With 1 scoop of Athletic Greens, you are absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day off right. This mixture of ingredients helps your immune system, gives you energy, and improves your focus, and that's why I take my Athletic Greens, and you should too. What's awesome about Athletic Greens is that it costs less than a cup of coffee a day. Also, it helps support better sleep quality and recovery, which we all definitely need. And right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop and a cup of water every day. That is it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, that's the most important part. Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D, and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. And all you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/CHGO Bears. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/CHGO Bears. So take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutrition insurance.
Good job, Nick.
Was that Siri?
No, it's like a speech thing on my phone, but I guess it technically could be Siri. On the way here, since I did these notes 3 days ago and I wanted to refresh what I put down,
Gotcha.
My drive, I had to dictate my entire 5 pages of notes in Google Docs.
Does it work pretty well?
Yeah,
Or?
it actually worked out well. I Googled it right before I left your house, like, how can I do this? And I was under accessibility settings, and I can change it, like how fast it talks, and it worked out pretty decently.
I'm going to have to do that. Yeah, I like that.
Just a good way to refresh yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So not Siri, but very helpful.
All right, let's make sure Lawrence was going to pipe in with something.
No, I'm just going to sit over here. It's fine. I don't again, very, very much under pressure about teaching you things, so I'm just going to not talk.
I just wanted
now.
to check. Maybe
Yeah,
he had a
I'm
new
fine.
thing to throw down on us. All right.
No, I was checking to see what Nick was tweeting before he read.
Oh, I
his
just
ad,
retweeted the live show.
Yeah, it wasn't anything important.
I was going to do that. And
I mean,
then
I guess
thought,
that is important. We want
It's
people to
important,
watch,
but not. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I changed my mind and want to do the dictation instead for you.
Oh, gotcha.
And
Yep.
here we are.
Here
All
we
right,
are.
tier 2, which I have called the top bubble guys, because we have to break this chunk into something, and that's the best way that I can classify, because no one from after those top 3 is a lock to make this roster by any means whatsoever. It could be anyone in tier 2, and there are players in this bottom tier that can also surprise and go out. The Bears are going to go with the best players, the cream that rises to the top over here as well. So, top bubble players. Let's begin with, actually, let me just list them and let's have a bigger conversation.
Yeah.
We have Equanimus St. Brown, Nikhil Harris, who the Bears literally just traded for last week, Dante Pettis, Tajay Sharp, and that rounds out who I believe is in the top bubble. How about you? Is there anyone that I missed, or is this like that next tier of guys that we should be paying attention to?
No, and I won't go ahead to tier 3 yet, but those are the 4 guys that, when you're looking to round out the wide receiver room, they're definitely going to be in the discussion to do that. Especially like a guy like Equanimus St. Brown has that connection with Luke Getsy, bigger-bodied guy. Can he find his niche on this team? There it is again. Someone that can just, again, use his length, his physical attributes to just to the best of his ability. And you look at Nikhil Harris, very similarly. A big guy, ran pretty fast for his size, is able to go get the jump ball. Didn't quite pan out. Is that 32nd overall pick in New England, but he can block. That's definitely one of the pluses that he has. But if he's going to actually make this roster for the Bears, it has to be because he can be a capable wide receiver. He doesn't do or participate much in special teams. So if he's being placed on this 53 and is a part of the wide receiver group, yes, you can block, which is a great attribute to have, but, man, you also got to be a capable pass catcher when Justin Fields going maybe to that number 3. And I think that's what we're looking for in terms of this group, the third or fourth guy. And obviously we mentioned 3 of the above, but Velus is still a rookie. He's going to come into his own role, but these guys, who's going to stand out and make the most out of their opportunity that they have in training camp? And when you add a guy like Nikhil Harris, if you're Equanimus St. Brown, Dante Pettis, Tajay Sharp, your job is not solidified. You don't know if you're going to make this roster because now there's another guy who's competing for your roster spot.
When I look at Nikhil Harris, and there are some fans that are very excited about his potential coming to Chicago, believing that Pace got a steal here, giving away a 2024 seventh-round pick. Is that
Did you just say Pace?
Did I say Pace? See, sometimes that happens when you have Ryans in the same position. Both the last names start with P.
We need a jar for.
We do. I would love that, actually. Like, if
we
any
have
slips.
The
of, like-
Blackhawks have the jar, but he who shall not be named, which is their
Okay.
former
All
GM.
right, yeah.
So I think you guys need it too.
I'll gift
Give
to the
donate
cause later
one.
on.
Donate one.
That's $1.
All right. I don't know if I have cash on me. Does the jar take Venmo?
I don't think
It should have like a QR code on it.
It
actually.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good idea. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll do that.
I like that.
All right. So that Ryan Poles brought in. Thank you.
Hey, there we go.
And there's others I believe he's just destined to fail here as well because he did in New England. When I was looking into his time in New England and why a lot of people thought it just didn't work out, a lot of it was COVID just like derailing, a lot of people's careers really, and just
Lives,
making things
yeah.
weird. They switched to Cam Newton and that super run-heavy offense in that 2020 season. The scheme just wasn't really set up for him. And all that kind of led to some lacking of confidence. Like, I don't know if I can fit here correctly. And then just overall coaching not putting him in a position to succeed. And now we're in Chicago, where I think Getsy's flexible, and he will find ways to cater to his strengths. And Nikhil Harris just brings something different that nobody else in this list has, and it's that size and that possession type of body receiving, because everyone else is a leaner, I know Jones is a little thicker, but speed guy. And Nikhil Harris more that prototypical back shoulder throw, go up and get it receiver. And if he can show the Bears he has that ability in training camp, easily can carve out himself a role in this offense. It doesn't have to be the biggest role, but just something else that defenses have to game plan against, account for, and he can beat some of these DBs in different ways, because a lot of these other receivers, I think, have similar skill sets.
Yeah, that is a good point. And because they do have similar skill sets, that also can play to the Bears' advantage of what they want to do with the receivers. Like, hey, you can line up on the outside. In the slot, you can use these guys in a multitude of different ways. So that there's a benefit to that. But if you do have an outlier in the group, like a Nikhil Harris, being that 6'5", 228 pounds, the biggest wide receiver the Bears have in terms of weight, that thickness you were talking about, you can find maybe, is he the prototypical X? That's something that, maybe it was Equanimeous St. Brown if you were to just kind of look at it. But
that was a force.
Yeah, it's almost like a force. And I know someone said in the comments, like, Equanimeous St. Brown was probably being underutilized in Green Bay. Maybe to a certain extent, but you also got to prove to the coaching staff that you're deserving of more reps or more opportunities to make those plays. He did a good job in special teams. But, again, like I was saying for Nikhil Harris, I think for Equanimeous St. Brown to feel safe about this roster, you need to be able to contribute at the position that you're labeled as, a wide receiver, and not just a special teamer. Those make up the 53, but I think you also want to be good at the position that you are.
Agreed. I know for St. Brown in Green Bay, it just wasn't jiving really. Like, rookie season was okay. Like, for a 7th rounder, he really performed well for his draft status, but it just never really panned out after the fact. And we'll see what it looks like in Chicago. If Luke Getsy didn't like what he brought to the table, I'm sure he wouldn't be here in Chicago, because he has the most familiarity with him. So I will trust the evaluation right now, and we'll see exactly where it goes. Outside of that, on this list, I've been a fan of Dante Pettis coming out. I believe he possesses a ton of talent. It's just the lack of durability right now that's really hurt his career. He led all rookies his rookie season, which was 2018, with an average of 7.9 yards after the catch per reception, according to PFF. And then he got hurt, really bad high ankle sprain, COVID hit. He lost a lot of weight, goes to the Giants and has to play with Daniel Jones, Mike Glennon of the world, and injuries yet again kind of just derailed him. He got to play only 2 games last year, but he had 10 catches in 2 games. Like, he's healthy. The ball goes his way. Good things happen. He's, again, very talented, but can he stay healthy? I don't know. This is really his 3rd chance, and for a guy that's a good route runner, has plus hands, can be shifty in space, I just hope he can stay healthy. And if so, the Bears have another effective weapon in this offense. I just don't know personally if we should bank on that. Yeah. Probably not a wise decision. And then one other player to highlight, in Tajae Sharpe, another player that did really well early on in his career, 5th-round pick for the Titans. His first 3 seasons, 92 catches, 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns. And then he decides, like, it's time to move elsewhere in my career, goes to Minnesota, and he flops. So you can thank Kirk Cousins for that one. And he went to Atlanta last year, and he was fine. He started. He didn't have, eye-popping numbers, but 25 catches, 230 yards, 9.2 yards per catch. He just hasn't found the end zone in 2 years, similar to almost Cole Kmet.
Oh, yeah.
Were you thinking that too?
Yeah, just tight end that we just talked about in last show. Yeah, Tajae Sharpe is a guy that, like you said, early on in his career was putting up the numbers, but 2017, goose eggs. 2020, essentially goose eggs in Minnesota. Like, nothing, 2 seasons where there wasn't any production. And now 2021 with the Atlanta Falcons, it was minimal. But here with the Bears, it's like, I think if you're looking at what Tajae Sharpe could do for this Bears team, well, one, does he make the team? And two, whatever your expectations are for him, especially probably being a wide receiver 5, 4 in that role, it's going to be minimal at best.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for rounding out that group, I guess it's okay to have a guy like that who does have some veteran experience, who's been in the league, has been in a couple different teams. That's kind of what you're looking for, the 5th, 6th receiver on usually a 53-man roster.
Right. You're just looking for someone you can fall back on if needed, and you know they can produce. And Tajaé Sharpe is definitely someone that has proven he can. He's not going to be a top 2 receiver, top 3 here in Chicago, and that's okay because that's not the plan. If that was the plan, you probably don't draft Velus. You maybe not even bring in, Byron Pringle, but Poles was able to was brought in so many receivers this offseason with, second and third chances. Kind of like second chance to you right now here in Chicago when it comes to this position. And I think that's going to have a lot of guys with chips on their shoulders wanting to prove something to this coaching staff in camp. And this should make for a very fun battle all the way around to fight for this bottom end of the roster when it comes to the Bears wide receivers.
I do like this. Sorry, just really quickly, Zach's comment here. I like this theory. He said that St. Brown and Harry both played for elite QBs, that if they don't like you, you don't get the ball. So Justin should be looking to spread the ball around, which it's a good point,
That's a great point, and I know we've mentioned that too, where I expect this offense to spread the wealth. You're going to have plays designed for different players. We're not going to force things as much as we saw in previous offenses. Like, let's just get this guy 15 touches for the sake of it, and he has 30 yards on 15 touches. Like, what was the point of this? He wasn't doing anything. He wasn't producing. That hopefully should be behind us. Out of this tier, as of today, and we'll do who makes the roster here in a bit, but who's like your leading candidates if you had to choose like 1 or 2?
I would probably I'll go with Nikhil Harris, even though he's the newest addition to this room. I will put him up there. And then it's almost 50-50 for Equanimous and Dante Pettis here. I think you got to go back to 2018 to see when Dante Pettis was actually producing as a rookie, right? But he is somebody that he does have a good route tree. And if he takes full advantage of this opportunity, I think he can carve out a small role here in Chicago and be not number 1, number 2, but that third guy. A third guy that you can maybe, for Justin Fields, look to as we're talking about spreading the wealth, the third recipient of that.
Okay. I can even see him dropping to 4, depending on Velus and how big of a role. But I like that you're coming around a bit because when they signed Sharpe and Pettis nearly at the same time, and early on you were on the Sharpe's train, and I was on the Pettis side of things, and I think I've convinced you slowly. The more I talk about him and you look into him, and
training camp will definitely switch it all for me again. But
that's the point of camp.
Yeah, no, it is.
Next week.
Cannot wait.
All right, let's move over to Tier 3, which is dubbed the rest. We have, Simba Webster, 4th-year pro. We've seen him a little bit here in Chicago. Isaiah Coulter, 2nd-year player out of Rhode Island. Chris Fink, 2021 undrafted free agent who was with Poles in Kansas City. He had an injury in the offseason that kind of derailed that first year. He was let go due to it, but obviously Poles saw. And I think, did he come here before Poles, or was Poles and then he came? It was some of these smaller guys on the bottom end of the roster. The timeline gets murky for me, admittedly.
I think Poles was here and then he got brought on.
So I like that because, again, someone that has familiarity, understands it a bit, and if he liked enough what he saw before the injury happened, hey, come to Chicago, give you a second chance. Maybe it's not making this active roster, maybe it is, but also a good practice squad candidate. Then you have David Moore, a 5th-year pro out of East Central. Weirdly enough, all the way down here on this list, how quickly things change. Daz Newsome, last year's 6th-round pick that at this time we were tier 2ing him, projecting much larger roles in his offense. And then Kevin Shaw, undrafted free agent out of Liberty. Who are you keeping your eyes on in this group? Because there's a lot of players, and really between the top 2 tiers, there's so much to look out for and watch for. It's going to be hard when you get to the 3rd tier to really see much of anything or pay that much attention to these guys. I want them to present themselves to me, like make me notice you. That's how I'm looking at this group. but do you just have a player or two that you're already kind of like, yeah, I want to watch what he does come, the next few weeks here?
So I don't know if it's me, like I want to watch these guys, but I know Chris Fink's going to make plays. He's already done it in minicamp. He's going to be the training camp hero. I've said that before. I'll say it now. People are going to love Chris Fink.
Like
Tanner Gentry, Daniel Braverman.
Yes.
Dane Sonsenbacher, the shifty little white guy that just gets open. That's Chris Fink. That's who he is, and that's what he's been doing already in minicamp. So I see, AGM production. Chris Fink sounds like a comedian name. Maybe that's true, but he also he made plays. And I'm not saying that he's making the 53 or anything like that. Shocking. But I just know at the end of August, everyone's going to be like, oh, when the Bears don't, sign Chris Fink to the 53, they're going to be like, damn it. Why didn't they do it? I'm going to say it right now. But that's someone that I know I'll notice. But someone that I'm curious to see just if he can actually carve out a role on this team is that 6th-round draft pick from a year ago, Daz Newsome. Because the slot receiver position for the Bears, I think, is very flexible. Byron Pringle can play it. And you see his, I think, being almost 6'1", Daz Newsome obviously not that size. Like, there's a clear difference in the physical appearance of what that position could be, but can Daz Newsome actually find the role? Maybe no shoulder injuries like he had last season that really derailed him from actually getting going last season. But, hey, Daz Newsome, that's someone that you hope to see makes plays, but if he doesn't, this coaching staff has no connection to him. So if he's the one cut, then so be it. But I want to see if Daz Newsome can do something here in this training camp.
He's such a wild card because, again, I know time changes perspectives, but it was this time a year ago where we were just excited as what the Bears would have in him. I know he got hurt, and it really made it for a slow start. And then when it came to the regular season, they just decided not to really use him, even though the Bears weren't winning many games. Appeared in only 3 last year, 5 targets, 2 catches, 23 yards. I remember even in the preseason, because they were taking it slow with him coming back from injury, he didn't get a lot of action. When he was out there, he saw a few kind of flashes, but again, that was against backups in a preseason environment. So after a year, I'm still going to hold some mild optimism that we did have last season, but at the same time, I know his path to make this roster this year is much more difficult than it was last year, even coming back from that injury, and it's really going to be up to him to step up to the plate here.
It is, and this room has a lot of opportunity to make it because there's one clear guy at the top and then everybody else, but still an uphill battle like someone put in the comments for Daz Newsome.
And if I remember correctly, he's a player like Darnell Mooney who just does not like to go down at first contact. Like, he is an aggressive ball carrier and tries to play with that aggressive mentality, even though he's a little bit of a, he's not the biggest body. He's not a Nikhil Harris out there, but that also does help him in the punt return game, which is another area that he brings to the table. Yet again, man, we need to do an episode where we just talk about who's going to return kicks and punts because there's so many players with experience on this team. But I think that does it for me in Tier 3 right now. Like I said, out of this group, personally, I want the player to show themselves to me and make me want to pay attention to them because there's just so many guys right now, and I want to have most of my focus on the top 2 tiers. That's what my expectations are going to be for this group right now. Like, you show enough to make me notice you, and I think if I'm noticing him in camp, other fans who are there in attendance will as well.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Will. Before we get into this last segment, get some predictions, over-unders, all that good stuff, just got to tell you about FOCO. Chicago sports fans, your home for the best Chicago sports coverage, is partnering with the leader in sports merchandise and collectibles. And yes, that is FOCO, where you can secure your access to the best collectibles and gear around. Whether it's Bears, Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks, Bulls, FOCO will have something for you, your kid, a friend, or any of your loved ones. They got it all. And if you are looking for some new gear, and like we've mentioned multiple times, training camp is just around the corner. You're looking for some new Bears gear to rock at Hallis Hall. FOCO has officially licensed gear for men, women, and kids. It's going to be hot during those days. So guess what, Will? You can wear those damn Crocs. You can wear Crocs there if you want. You can keep nice and cool. You can wear swimsuits if you really wanted to. I don't even know if there's dress code, but they have them. So FOCO has got you covered with the best Chicago merchandise of your favorite team. Head over to FOCO.com or click the link below in the YouTube description. And for all non-presale items, use that code CHGO for 10% off.
All right, this is the CHGO Bears podcast. We are previewing wide receivers heading into training camp, which begins in less than 1 week. Can't believe it. Like we always say, it takes forever to get here, but then every year we blink,
It's here.
and it's here. When are we going to learn this lesson? Probably never, but that's all right.
Nope.
Nick, loaded question time. Who makes the team?
All right, let's do this.
How many?
I have six.
I got six.
6 wide receivers. Again, I looked at what did the Colts do last season, what did the Chiefs, what did the Packers do. A bunch of different teams here. But I have Darnell Mooney, Byron Pringle, Velus Jones Jr., Dante Pettis, Equanimous St. Brown, Nikhil Harris.
Cool. Same. Moving on.
All right, that was easy.
Easy.
Nice.
I think Sharp.
A little slow on that one. Sorry.
It's okay. Sharp is still someone that can. I mean, like we said, anyone could.
He
was the one
yeah.
I wrestled the most over because will Pettis, like, will they fear like the injury happening? You let Sharp go, he gets signed to another team, and then he's like a wide receiver 4 somewhere else because he can be. And then you're looking and scrambling for another person because like Pettis gets hurt in a couple weeks. Like, will they want to take that chance? We'll see. But if we're looking at talent and who's here, I feel like that gives the Bears the most upside for like a top 6.
Yeah, and if you're in the comments here listening, what receivers do you have making this 53-man roster? Will and I went with 6. That may not be the number that they actually settle on, but who do you have making the 53-man roster? Put them in the comments here, and we'll see how they compare to ours.
Don Burr says it's horrible. I mean, he would know like a few things about like having horrible wide receiver cores, like in Detroit with the Lions. I know he's had Megatron and all that good stuff. I'm just giving him a hard time. They've actually had good receivers over there sometimes.
Yep. Megatron's a
So
very
he
good
has
one.
no idea what a bad one looks like yet. We'll find out. All right, Nick, ready for some over-under?
Let's do it.
All right, over-under 1,299.5.
Over.
For Mooney?
Yes. Over. I'll go.
So that'd be 1,300.
Yes. Give me 1,300.
Only 7 receivers had more than 1,300 last year.
Damn it.
Woo.
I knew that right before.
I was going to say,
That's
you
spicy.
jumped the gun.
That is. Oh, man. Is this. He did it last year, though. Those numbers last year, Mooney. Like, that's.
We just
That's
talked
saying
about
something, though.
spreading the ball around.
I know.
Getting these third
Uh-huh.
and fourth guys.
But that's his
involved.
guy. Justin and Darnell are like this. If you could see this on the video, they're like this.
They are like
As
this.
I'm looking at Lawrence deeply into
Where's
his eyes
Jake?
like this.
I'm
I need,
I'm
like-
entranced.
Over 1,300. Do it. Let's do it.
All right, over
Boom.
1,300. He had 1,055 last year, so.
Do it.
All right, cool. I'll take the under to be devil's
Okay.
advocate,
Probably
just due to Lawrence's thought of spreading that ball around.
Yeah, makes sense.
Just under 1,250, and it's
Okay.
still a
That's good.
really good
Yeah.
season for him too. But we'll see exactly how, and the running game taking precedence too may impact this.
yeah,
a
it may
smidge.
be off here, but that's all right.
All right, one more for Mooney. 7.5 touchdowns for Darnell Mooney this season. He had 4 a year ago. Can he have more than 7.5?
I'm going under on the touchdown number. This is where the spreading the wealth around works out in the end zone, where it counts the most. So I'll go under. I'll give him 5.
All right.
5 touchdowns.
I will say over. I'll give him the 8. Maybe he won't have the most yards, but when you're inside the 20, you said it. Fields is looking one direction, and that is at number 11. So I will allow him to get. That's right. I'm allowing him to get more than 7.5 touchdowns this season. All right, next one. 4.5 touchdowns for Velus Jones Jr. 5 rookie wide receivers had 5 or more touchdowns last year. So 5 receivers were able to accomplish the over on this, but will he be one of them this season?
No, I don't think so. Again, I just don't. I just need to see how they're going to utilize them, especially early on. I'll put it like 2.
Giving it to what did Miller have his rookie season? Was it like 5 or 6?
Man, didn't he have like 7?
It was
Or-
it could have been actually 7 too.
I can look that up real quick. Will Anthony Miller, 2018, and he had.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh man, we're going. ESPN takes forever, you guys. I'm sorry.
Oh, you chose ESPN. Well, that's
Yeah,
your fault.
just the first one that popped up. And
PFR, baby.
2018, 7.
Mm.
That's where you thought that Anthony Miller was the
That's
hit out
right.
of Memphis. Like, you're good to go. And
It shows you like you can have like some of that immediate success, and it does mean nothing.
Matt Nagy.
Thank you, Matt. All right. I'm taking the under, though. In my wide receiver preview article on Velus Jones Jr., I said he'll have 4 touchdowns, so I'm going to stick with it. as well. So slightly on the under for Velus. And then the last over-under, 49.5 catches for Byron Pringle. He had 42 last season. Does he get to that 50 mark?
Chiefs offense, man. Chiefs offense. He was number 3, number 4, 49.5. Can he get to 50? You know
I'm going to say yes. I'm taking the over personally, if you want to at least hear my opinion.
You're going over. I'll go over on that as well. I think he has to. He's the number 2 on this team, and even if that's like small chunk yards, even though he's a guy that's created explosive plays, I think he'll get over that number, maybe that 55 range.
All right.
Pretty good.
I like it. True or false, Byron Pringle earns himself a second contract in Chicago? You knew that question was coming.
Mm-hmm. I did, and I was still thinking about it, though.
I know we have so much to learn between now and then.
Man, I'm going to go with true. Maybe like on a 2-year contract where it's nothing, again, a long time, but enough to where you feel good about Byron Pringle, at least for 2023 season.
Same. I think you have him earn something this year, prove that he's worth staying around what the Bears are doing, and it will still be a modest contract. He's not going to break the bank, and if you can have a player with a high floor for not a lot of money that you have familiarity in his offense that can grow with Justin, the Bears will definitely not shy away from having that guy stick around.
Yep.
True or false, Darnell Mooney leads the team in receiving touchdowns, and at the end of the season, he goes to the Pro Bowl.
False.
It's the Pro Bowl one,
It's
right?
a Pro Bowl. It's always a Pro Bowl.
The first
one.
half would have been true, though?
The first...
Leading the team in receiving touchdowns?
I have him at 5, and I also said Cole Kmet would have 5 in that.
Ooh,
that
so it's a
show.
tie.
But, so, yeah, that's not true either.
Okay. True or false, 5 different receivers will have at least 20 catches as the Bears spread the wealth.
Yeah, point
5
at me.
different
Yeah.
receivers? Man.
20 or more catches?
I know.
It's only like 1.2
And you're
a
just saying
game.
receivers, too.
Only receivers. 20
False.
False?
False.
I think it's true. I think this bottom end, like Velus won't have that many catches. Like he won't be like at the 50 mark. Then underneath him, I mean, so you have Mooney will get it guaranteed. Pringle's going to get it guaranteed.
Pringle.
I think Velus gets it
Velus.
guaranteed. I just don't know how much more. Like maybe it's like 35, 40. And then you're right, wide receiver.
Dante and Nikhil,
Just 20 or more
maybe?
catches. I think it's possible. I'm going to give it true. All right, Nick. Fill in the blank. The player that at this time next year, when we look back on this whole season and we go, wow, where did that player come from? Who is that guy? Or at least most Bears fans. Like, we're talking about them all, but, like, what's that guy that's going to come out of nowhere for most Bears fans?
For most Bears fans, that guy will be probably Dante Pettis.
Okay.
But again, small role. Like, okay, he can stay on this team. That's fine. But yeah, a minimal role. That's who people will be thinking about.
All right, last fill in the blank. And it's funny how I put this in here, and you've kind of alluded to it a few times, though. It's third down. Justin looks for Darnell Mooney, but he's double covered. The next guy that Fields trusts to
Still
make the
completes a
big-time
pass.
play is...
Still Darnell. I'll go with Byron Pringle.
Okay.
Byron Pringle is at number 2, but man, he's put some balls into some tight windows before. And
I'm not saying he can't make the
Now,
throw,
how about
but
this?
I'm
Yeah,
saying
he
like if his
Darnell Mooney falls down because he's double covered. Now
does
what?
Darnell Mooney get back up
Settle down. Just
Separates
answer the
himself
question.
and
Stop
goes
saying Darnell Mooney.
deep? Byron Pringle.
Byron Pringle. So that's the guy. This is to me more of a question about the trust factor. So
Yeah,
like
true.
outside of Mooney, the guy he'll trust the most will be Pringle.
Could be Cole Kmet if we're talking everybody.
Receiver.
Okay, Byron Pringle.
All right, making sure. What's your bold prediction for this positional group, sir?
Yeah, Mooney had 14 big plays, which is 20 plays that go for 20 or more yards, and that was 23rd in the NFL last season. He will finish in the top 10 this year, and all he would need to do if it was last year, get 3 more of those big plays to put him at 17, and that puts him in the realm of the Mike Williams of the world and also T. Higgins. He'll finish in the top 10 in terms of basically an explosive play created for Darnell Mooney.
I like that one a lot. I have 2, and I'm debating which one I want to utilize here on the show. I don't want to put this on him, but it's the most bold one I have. Velus Jones Jr. to lead all rookie receivers in touchdowns. And I guess I'd said touchdowns. I didn't say receiving touchdowns, so that could be a kickoff touchdown. Because, you know, a rushing touchdown maybe, because he can be utilized in a few different ways. So
Yeah.
Velus leading rookie receivers in touchdowns is my bold prediction.
That is a bold one. Wow, okay.
Well, rookie receivers tend to not. I mean, Jamar Chase is
Wilson,
the exception.
I
I know.
there's some guys.
I know. But I said touchdowns. The other one I had, just to throw it out there, though, I had someone in our second tier will finish behind Darnell Mooney in touchdowns scored. So, like, it'll be Darnell Mooney, and it won't be Pringle or Velus. It will be someone from tier 2, whether it be Harry, whether it be Pettis.
That'd be good for the Bears in their depth at that position for sure.
You say Harry and Pettis too quickly next to one another, someone's freaking out. Like, what did you just say? All right, where's your confidence, though, man? What's your confidence meter for the receivers?
This is a tough one. This is a tough one to gauge for me, but I put it at a 6.6.
Okay.
Again, you know what you have in Darnell Mooney. You have to see everything else from all these other guys. So I'm putting it at 6.6, and I hope that number is a lot higher by the end of the season, but not too optimistic about that.
I'm sad we didn't get to continue our graphics like we had yesterday. It's my fault because I did not know.
Yeah, I don't know. Nick and I talked about it. I was just like, do we need to do that? And Nick's like, nah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I like visuals.
I mean, I do too, but, I got other visuals to think about right now.
That's cool. You're
Yeah.
fine. I was just saying, like, it was actually neat to see it on scale, though, yesterday, like, where we were. And I'm at a 6.9.
Ah, nice.
And it's, weirdly enough, it was a math exercise.
Sure it was.
I did Darnell Mooney at a 9.
Nice.
Pringle at a 6.5, Velus at a 7.5, the remainder of the group at a 4.5. So you added up, divided by 4, and it came to 6.88 something or another, and so I had to round up to 6.9.
This comes out to a nice number.
It did. All right, any final thoughts before we wrap up this receiver group? I know we have another fun show tomorrow coming up with quarterbacks. We're going to squeeze in special teams as well as we go back remote. So I'm not even in a bubble, which is good, even though I'm remote tomorrow. But any final thoughts on this group? I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch it all shake out.
A lot of competition. Really looking forward to seeing what these guys can do, especially in the bottom end guys in terms of one-on-ones in training camp and the 11-on-11s, who stands out. But a lot of competition, and there's a lot of spots open on this roster too.
Yes, there is. Like we said, outside the top 3, the guarantees, it is anybody's bag for the taking, and I'm really excited to see who wants it more, because that's literally the environment that Ryan Poles has decided to kind of breed here in Chicago, especially at this position group. Like, all these guys getting second or third chances who have showed promise at one time or another. Hey, you want a roster spot here in Chicago? Come and get it. And that should breed a lot of good competition and make for a lot of excitement at training camp for both us watching and the rest of the Bears fans in attendance. Like I said, tomorrow we'll switch our focus to quickly on special teams and then the quarterbacks with a heavy emphasis on Peterman.
That's how I was thinking, Nathan Peterman.
Mm-hmm.
Got to go with that.
Now that we talked about Jay Peterman from Seinfeld.
No.
Elaine. Yeah.
Nope. Good old Nathan. Who? See? Ted Lasso. What's his name?
Oh, yeah. It's Nate.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
Oh, you remember my name.
Mhm.
Sorry how he feels walking around the building.
No spoilers, but it's coming. So you talk about graphics. This is the one I wanted to bring up, is that
I love it.
we put this out on CHGO Sports today, and it is causing quite a stir online. So Bears fans, feel free to go out there and yell at us in the mentions, because we don't hear enough of it already. But yeah, I don't know. Lots of Bears on there.
There are a lot.
But then again, who the hell wears anything from 60 to 80 in any
True.
other sport? So there's not a lot of options for some of those. But
This is an awesome graphic. It has, I think, I agree with most of it, and you can't put Devin Hester on here. It's just impossible. But it was like seeing him not on there, it hurt me.
that's why we put him on set today.
Okay, there you go.
Ah.
Yes. See a little Hester
he's down
right there. But yes, that was an awesome graphic. Seeing all the great Chicago athletes that have, played for the city.
I didn't have any complaints on it. I know Hester 23 would have been awesome. You can't put him in place of Jordan. Maybe you could have split it down the middle.
See,
I
was thinking that, but it's like
doing
Jordan.
that.
But it's just Jordan. You don't touch
Choices were made, okay?
Choices were made.
That's just the way it is.
it. And it's I can accept it.
7 was a tough one, not for Bears fans, but for other teams in the city.
No one. I did see someone off the Bears account after we retweeted it said what about Hallis? He goes 7.
Yeah, well, that's a stupid thing. Who the hell knows that George Hallis wore number 7? He's like the owner and creator of the NFL. No one thinks of him as a football player. Come on.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a dumb thing. Keep that one to yourself, whoever said that one.
Can I see it one more time? And then I'll close the show. I just want to see one last thing to make sure I saw it right. Yep. Okay, as long as we had Luckman for 42. Because I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
But
Well
again,
said.
how many 42s are there?
I know. Not many. Yeah.
But that was one. Like, if we were going to have Cutler on
Well,
there,
I mean, I'll say this.
Luckman may have been
Look
there
just
too.
a little bit to the right of there. 45, we went with Fensick. You know who we could have went with?
Michael Jordan?
Yeah, the return of MJ. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
Yep. True.
it's an option.
An option.
But yeah, no, head out to our Twitter at CHGO_sports and check this out. We put it on our Twitter account too, retweeted at CHGO_Bears. I'm at Will DeWitt. My L's are ones. And then we have at Nicholas Moriano here. Any last words before I say the tagline?
You have the floor, Will.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow from a remote show to conclude Countdown to Camp. And I think that'll be what? That also wraps up Adam's vacation.
Yeah, I saw him earlier today. So I think he's still on vacation because he's not here. So yes.
Right. Well, awesome. So we'll wrap up this week tomorrow, talk about some Justin Fields expectations in year 2 in this offense. I can't wait for that. But until then, bear down, Chicago.